Okay, now we're ready. So for those of you who I haven't met, my name is Elaina Swartzlander. I'm the ASD consultant from the county that took over from Lori McElvaney. I think first of all, I just want to say it's been great to meet everyone and see all of the great things that you guys are doing. And I appreciate all of the grace as we figure out this crazy school year. And I know Lakewood has had a lot of changes in staff and all of the COVID precautions. So it's been a hard balance between getting to know people and build relationships. And I have 6 buildings across different school districts. So I also am really conscious of not wanting to be the person that shuts down schools or so it really has been a hard balance, but I appreciate those of you who have reached out and I look forward to working with all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I started with Illuminate, and so this fast link to resources, hopefully it's going to go, there we go. So I just wanted to show you where the adult support documents are through Illuminate, if you are unfamiliar. And nothing makes your computer work slower than everyone watching it load. So we'll scroll down. Okay, so right here on the second page in the blue, light blue column, here are the guidelines for adult support. So that's what we'll be reviewing today, but I just wanted to let you know where you could find that. Now I'm going to attempt to close these windows so that the other ones will load quicker. Okay. All right, so Jody was kind enough a few weeks ago to share Lakewood's adult support process. I'm going to minimize this so I can. Okay. So this is really the process that I've been following. It's been really nice that this is put together in Lakewood. So this is the adult support review process. And so we'll be going through all of these documents today. So the first step is if we have a new student that's moving in, for example, I've done a couple with Sue, for whom in the IEP, the barriers include a need for some adult support. Then we can go to the adult support consideration. Oh. All right, we'll open it from here. Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can move this. Go. Tried to open these all so that I would have them. I apologize. Okay. All right, let's see if it'll open up now. There we go. I have a Illuminate training with Renee later, and I am getting a lot of perspective on how she feels doing all of these trainings. So thank you for your patience. Okay, here we go. So this is the adult support consideration worksheet. And so this provides the rationale for why a student needs an HCA. And this should come from the barriers and the needs that were identified in that IEP. So the strengths of the students, again, that comes from the IEP. What can the student do independently without assistance? The barriers and the needs. So what do we want the student to be able to do independently? But what are they not yet able to do? Any other supplementary aids and services, the data and goals and communication. So you can see that these come right from the columns in the whiteboard IEP. And so this should be the same information that we're just re-documenting in another spot. This is becoming more and more important. I mean, I think that we're all aware that there is a lack of HCAs across the county. I received an email last week that I think the ASD has at least 20 open positions currently. And so really making sure that these are tied back to the IEP is going to be more and more important because this is how they are going to determine who receives an HCA if we don't have enough. So that has been really important. So the next piece after we do this consideration is the student support action plan. So here's what the blank form looks like. And then this is a sample that I was able to find from 2016. Let's see if we can get it to reload. Okay, so as you know, I've done a couple of these. Thank you, Sue and Pam and Ellen, for being my guinea pig. And please jump in if you have anything else that you want to add. But the easiest thing is just to go through the schedule of the day and then look at the assistance that's needed and then by whom it will be provided. The one thing, the piece of direction that I've received is that since this form was used as an example, the new direction is to use the to write HCA, but then who is directing the HCA? So HCA under the direction of caseload teacher or ancillary staff member. Even more specifically, if we're looking at the HCA trying to facilitate some social interaction, then it might be the HCA under the direction of school social worker. And again, I'll just go back to this one. I apologize. I think, again, we want to be as data-driven as possible. So to me, this is almost the guideline for the HCA of what they should be doing each part of the day. So if it's coming into school, then the assistant needed might be follow visual schedule in locker to hang up backpack, take off coat. So I think this is where, one of the questions that has come up is with whether we should invite the HCA to the meetings. When I looked at the Lakewood process, then it said that we don't. And my understanding is that because we are the professional staff and we're directing the HCA. So, I apologize. So again, we just want this to be as data-driven as possible. In the training that I received on this plan, sometimes they even tie it back to a task analysis. So being able to collect some data if it's on toileting, knowing where the student is at. So are they able to independently initiate going to the bathroom, and then are they able to, go through those steps just so we have specific data, and then that plays right into the fading plan. So, and then again, these we want to be directly dependent on the needs and the barriers of the IEP. So all of these documents are going back to those needs that we had stated in the IEP. If we look at the last, or second to last, is the fading plan. So again, we have those barriers and needs from the IEP, what the student is currently doing, the amount of adult support that they have, and then how we are going to fade that towards more independence. So if we pull up the example. So again, we have the barrier and need. So, you know, this just has different barriers and needs set out. When Sue and I did one earlier, then we just took that same schedule that we had used and went through each part, and that was really helpful. So current condition, staff members will follow the most to least prompting hierarchy. Prompt level will fade based on 3 consecutive successful transition at current prompt level. So what we have been writing is, if right now a student needs a lot of prompting, so some physical prompting to go to their locker, and then, you know, a gestural prompt to look at the picture on their locker to identify them, and then help with their opening the locker. We have been just describing the prompting that we either think will happen if it's a student that's just coming in, or what we see, and then what would be the next step to fade that. So can we use those visual supports? The student has a picture on their locker, and they independently come in and use those visuals to find their locker. And then fading might be the verbal of, oh, find your locker, and then they can use the supports independently. So again, the hope is that this can be used as a way of tracking to make sure that we are always looking at our students' socialization and independence and trying to facilitate that. And again, so with this, it's just giving the HCA hopefully some direction on how they can step back and help facilitate that independence. So then the last one is the HCA training document. So based on the plan that we just made, what do we need to provide training in? Okay, so for example, if the student has a behavior plan, the people that are being trained might be those service providers and the building staff, and then the school psychologist or ancillary members, the HCA mentor that can provide that training. So I know we have been putting in training that we need to occur. And then my assumption is that as we go through this every 9 weeks, this is kind of a plan for what we need. And then we have the places that we can document it, who ended up being trained and by whom. So I think having these in a Google form is really helpful, just because then they're kind of a working document, and then the form that gets uploaded every 9 weeks hopefully will be completed more and more throughout the course of the year. And Sue's nodding, so it sounds like that's what you guys have done in the past. No, okay. So I guess that was kind of my thought, is that gives us the skills and activities that we need to do, and then when we will complete them. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I left about 10 minutes if we have any questions or if there's anything that you want me to go over again. I know these are new to some of you guys, or at least your involvement in the process is looking a little bit different. So if I can't answer the question, then I'll do my best to get some more information and bring it back to you as well. Pam, I saw that you took your mute off. Do you have a question?
Yes, you and I did a great job, I think, with Ellen in doing one of our students' adult support plan and the fading plan, and that was really good. However, I have another student who's quite involved. There will probably be no fading whatsoever this year. Little boy who's OHI, severe allergies and things like that. And he receives a lot of supports all day long. But my question is, what supports is she giving, and how do I understand what he needs? Who do I go to talk to? Do I talk to his HCA? Do I talk to his teacher? Who gives me the information to know how to guide this?
And you're his case manager?
Yes, I am.
My understanding? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm not sure who could give you the best information. I guess I would think starting with the teacher. I don't know with the health needs. Do you know who trains the HCA on those health needs? I mean, is there like?
Kathy Foote.
Kathy Foote.
Kathy Foote, and I guess
when I had him, it was Kathy Foote.
I look at that as the teacher in the HCA. The HCA is one that's spending the most time with that student. I think it would be a collaboration of like the teacher and the HCA. I think both of them are important in their feedback.
Yeah, and I think that one, I guess I'm thinking is a little bit different from ASD, like you're saying, just because that, I mean, there is still a risk of prompt dependency, but I guess the needs are a little bit different. Like you're saying, there aren't some behavioral things that we can put into place to meet those needs. They will be pretty consistent. So, I mean, it sounds like in that situation, the HCA probably would have a lot of information. And I think even with the ones that we wrote, I mean, the HCAs and the mentors do have a lot of information. I think we just want to keep in mind that as the professional staff, like we want to be able to get that information and then use our professional knowledge to kind of help shape that and make sure that the interventions meet you know, what we think as far as communication or, you know, what we know about prompt dependency. So I guess that's kind of how I've been thinking about it, if that makes sense to you. But certainly I do understand that they are in the classroom all day, and so we probably are going to need some information about schedule and what that looks like and what they're doing through each thing. So Pam, I will check with some of the other consultants and get back to you. And
well, I have already spoken with the teacher, and the teacher set me up with the HCA,
okay.
And we actually met for about 40 minutes to discuss this little student's daily schedule and how she helps with him.
Okay.
And the reason I'm asking for it now is because looking at this sheet here, it says we're supposed to have meetings, but not to include the HCA. And I'm thinking the HCA is the one who knows the most information as to how to tell me what she's doing all day long. And is that okay that I, you know, worked with her beforehand?
I think in this situation, it sounds like, yes, that is where you will need the information, again, because they're health needs. I think we just want to make sure that the plan that we're coming up with is, you know, we're the ones that are in the IEP, we're the ones trained in behavior and communication, and so, you know, our hope is that the directions from the HCA will come from those needs and barriers. So we're doing the directing, not the HCA figuring out, well, I think that this might work best with the student without it being part of a plan.
Okay.
But again, certainly in this situation, it sounds like they have received their training elsewhere too, and so you are going to have to get that information. I know Pam and I have talked, I am a speech pathologist by training, and I feel like there are always these situations where most of the time the special ed teachers are the case managers. And then there are ones like this that are just kind of atypical and a little bit different. So as Jody said, I think that you need to just get that information where you can, but we just don't want to be relying on the HCA to tell us what they're doing with the student when we can kind of guide their behavior so that we can direct them according to our professional knowledge. And I probably have said that too many times, but I hope that makes sense.
It does.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So then when we do all this paperwork, I understand it has to be uploaded to the IEP, but then who else receives a copy of this plan? Should the teacher have one on hand, and should the HCA have theirs on hand?
I think that it would make a lot of sense for the teacher and the HCA to have them, especially if they're the ones implementing it. I mean, and we're kind of using it as a guide. That isn't part of the document, but that's certainly something I can get clarification on. And the other question I had, and I don't know if anyone knows the answer, but I mean, if these come from the IEP, do they get put into the CA60, or it just is uploaded to Illuminate? I apologize. I have my second Illuminate training today, so I'm not really familiar with how all the documents get tied together. Like if a student moves, does it all download together? I can get clarification on that. I'm just kind of thinking aloud.
I don't know if I do know it gets uploaded, but then I don't know where it goes from there. I've never known who actually gets to see this, or if it goes into the CA60 or not.
They do upload to the IEP, but I'm not sure where in the IEP. I know Michelle Erb was clicking around with it yesterday and found them. So we were just kind of playing with it. They were like hyperlinks, but it seems like they should go in the CA60 too as a document, so the teacher can look at it that year or next year when the student moves on.
Pam, let me get some clarification, and I'll send out a follow-up to this with those. But I mean, certainly you guys as service providers are so busy, and I mean, we added a whole nother plan. Now we have CLPs, and so I always think if we're going to put the time in to use the documents, then we want them to be useful and accessible to people. So, I mean, and I'll talk to Jamie too about whether the HCA usually sees them, but again, if we're taking the time to do them, I don't think anyone likes to fill out paperwork just to check a box. So hopefully we can find some use for them.
Yeah, I certainly think if all this paperwork is going to be done, and this is what the child's doing during this time, and the HCA is supposed to guide in this way, then I think that HCA should know this thing like the back of their hand.
Yeah,
and have that with them. Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. So I know I did 2 students with Sue, but I think we might have one more. And then I worked with Pam because you guys, the end of your 9 weeks is on Friday. Is that correct? Okay. So I mean, and other things that I understand are a little bit different. At the bottom of my email, I know Jody sent out the form to request ASD consultant support. I know that's new this year. To me, it's been really helpful just to be able to have a Google list of who needs help and with what, just so I'm not trying to keep a list and forgetting about things. So again, I know it's another form and another step, but it does help me keep track of things. So if you have specific questions or you want to go over this together, let me know and we can set up a time. If not yet this week, then maybe Monday or Tuesday and get that squared away.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your patience as I learn the new policies and procedures and paperwork, and your willingness to meet on your PD day. I know you have lots to do, but I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Elaina.
Thanks, Elaina.
Time.
All right,
And thanks
thank
for everyone
you.
for attending.
All right, I will stop recording.